Okay, good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. This is the meeting for the Warrant Committee. And we have a quorum present. I can confirm that. So we'll call to order the meeting. This meeting is being disclosed. It's being video recorded and will be made available later on our website. So we have a fairly busy agenda tonight. Yeah, let's do a roll call first, I guess. Thank you. Why don't we do roll call?
Bill Raptor present?
Evan Solid present. Bob Slaney present.
Steve Callahan present.
Pete Saladino present.
Ashley Leduc present.
Peter Michelson present.
And Brent,
Brent Nelson present, participating remotely.
okay, thank you. And Emily is got a house that's very sick, so she's not gonna, she may join us, but she's told us don't count on it, so. Our agenda tonight is, we have, by the way, I guess we don't have the minutes, right, for the last meeting yet? Okay. So we have a calendar review and we'll go quickly over that, but we'll go over, if you haven't got it, there's a handout of updated revenue forecast and fixed cost forecast. We'll get an update on that, on where we stand with that guidance that we issued back in fall. And then we will proceed through the department FY26 budget request. Thank you all for coming. I don't know if you've been told, but we have an order that wasn't decided by me. So if you don't like it, I don't know, blame Christina Frank.
There's a rationale. Everybody has a question. I'm more than happy.
But I'll just read it out. First is the DPW, then Medfield Outreach. What's that?
I like the order.
You like the order? And then Medfield Outreach, Veteran Services, Police Department, Planning, Zoning, Conservation, and Fire Department is last. Sorry, I don't know what you did to draw the last straw, but so that'll be our order. And then we'll get updates from Capital Budget and the School Building Committee and our normal updates from Town Finance. This is our calendar. Next meeting is dedicated to the school department. And so they will, they'll be joining us then, and we've dedicated the whole meeting to looking at that. I know Ed's been hard at work meeting with them. And there's another meeting next week that I think Bob and I will attend. And on the 25th is there's a joint meeting. We're going to start our meeting early at 6 o'clock. Okay, on the 25th of February is a joint meeting between the Select Board and the Warrant Committee. And there's a presentation on providing the Select Board with authorization for a land disposition warrant article. That property up across from the hospital hill, near Hospital Hill. And and then hopefully they will complete that in 1 hour. We will be able to start our meeting at 7, right, Christine? And so we will go through the remaining departments at that point. So that's really the only change to the calendar, and today's meeting minutes are you, I guess, right?
Oh.
Great. All right.
I drew the short straw on that.
Okay, so I thought we could just maybe Christine, I thought maybe you or Frank could come up and talk to us a little bit about the omnibus budget process and where we stand with that, any updates to that, and give us a brief update on I know we don't have great news, but it would be nice to get an update from you on that.
So we have some good news and we have some bad news. So the good news is the governor filed her budget.
Okay.
And so we had an increase in state aid of about $100,000. So we celebrated for about 4.2 seconds. Before we found out that our health insurance, which we had been advised to prepare for a 10% increase, could be anywhere between a 9 and a 19% increase. So right now we have updated the budget and the guidance to show a 15%. But we will find out within the next 10 days, hopefully, what that final insurance number will be.
Okay,
So we're waiting for that, and that will determine whether or not we need to change any of our guidance. We have a financial team meeting later this week to review all of our local receipts, review all of our revenue to make sure we don't have any changes to the revenue side.
okay,
We did our initial guidance meeting.
good.
So
So that-
presenting the town budget on February 3rd to the select board. The town budget is prepared to meet the warrant committee's initial guidance.
Okay. And before we get to, I would like to make sure that the warrant committee understands that process that you went through and to give.
Yes, I had planned on doing it at the end. I have a quick little slideshow. So if you, my people go first, we can do a little quick presentation on where we are on the budget process and an update on health.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Feel like it. So on the forecast, this is the handout here. I don't know if everybody saw it. It was the net impact is on the, I guess, the second to last page. There's you can see the revenue went up. State aid went up 103,000, which netted with some offsets for the enterprise fund to 98,000. And so that was, unfortunately, there's 4 items that are going the other way. The health insurance is the largest. It's the 142,000, that's the 15% increase that you talked about. And some liability working comp and the state assessment. So the net impact of all that is $55,000. And what that does is it brings on page 2 of the budget sheet, it brings the guidance, which we had at 3.6, or I think overall, down to 3.5. So, okay. And then, so that's sort of where that stands now. On the last page is the healthcare worksheet that we initially reviewed back in the fall. And unfortunately, the healthcare costs are going through the roof. I mean, this is 15% increase. We initially thought it would be 10.
Right. What they do last year? Wasn't it about?
No, last year, we had done, and I can say this is in my presentation for later, but we had a cost savings because we did a plan design change with all of the.
Right.
We had anticipated a 10%, and then we were able to actually have almost a little over $700,000 for employees and the town.
That was really great.
It was.
That was last year
It was like,
Short-lived.
it was very short.
Yeah, especially.
It was good.
So they've rerun, Frank has rerun this spreadsheet and so with the new rates and. Okay, so,
Just, I'll make one
Yeah.
comment because I think it's important to set the tone for this insofar as, I've heard the number that you see here, the 3.5 and 3.6, the $1,500,000 and the 500,000. Some call it a request, some call it guidance. It's really a directive. Because it's based on the best information that's available right now in a reasonably conservative, but not overly conservative projection. This is what's available to us. I think that both Christine and the town departments and the school department have their number. And, we need to find we need to fit the 7 pounds into the 5 pound bag. And so I think as we go through this today and with all the departments and the committees that present to us, this is, as Christine said, that on February 3rd, the town is budget. Christine's budget is presented to the select board. His ed has been working with the school committee that they presented to their committee. But the reality is Christine and the school board and the superintendent have to work within these parameters. You know, it really isn't a request. The request would come to say, can't do it. What's the alternative, which, you know, would be an override. So
Right.
let's just set that tone, and the reality is, and again, as we go through it, we appreciate the work and what's reflected by the departments. Again, it's Christine's budget, so we'll go through it and know you're living with those parameters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I do think, and I know you'll do this after we hear from the departments, but one thing we asked is that if we would like to know what the needs are that couldn't fit within this guidance.
Absolutely. We have a.
The school has done that. They've identified those, and we'd like to know but from the town side, what are the needs that, couldn't fit within this guidance? And that's important to understand. So, okay. All right. With that, I guess we could begin our review with the DPW. Brent, I don't know if you want to say anything. Mo is here, but if you'd like to maybe make an introduction or say anything, feel free.
Well, I did meet with the leadership team there, Department of Public Works, for over an hour. They were very gracious with their time. After we went through the budget, which I think you'll find, as I did, to be fairly straightforward, got an opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the forward challenges that they'll be facing, both in terms of, water quality constraints that are coming up, the needs that are always persistent with our sewer system, and then of course the issue that's a much bigger issue than we can address tonight, and the issue of the sidewalk plan. But those were just sort of conversations we were able to have given the time that we had together. So I think when it comes to the operating budget, you'll find it fairly straightforward.
Okay. All right, Mr. Goulet, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'll start off with the, did you want to do water and sewer as well tonight, or just the part of it, the highway part of it?
Brent, what do you think?
The highway part will go by very fast, so you probably have time to do the whole thing.
We can maybe do it all then.
I'll go quickly.
Yeah.
And I have some nominal changes this year in the budget. If we start with the highway department, nothing in trees. In the highway department, I'm looking at highway materials. We had cut $25,000 out of the budget last year. I'm a little concerned because we are 74% through that line item this year already, and we're maybe 56, 58% through the budget right now. So I'm asking to replenish that 25,000 back to what the original budget was a couple years ago. Dues and memberships, we doing a lot more training, a lot more organizations that our guys belong to, trying to they're professionals in the industry, and they're starting to really get along with their peers. So we're looking to add $1,000 for dues and memberships for that. We move down, snow and ice stays the same, equipment repair and maintenance stays the same. The sidewalk budget, this is just for maintenance. More until we figure out a plan for sidewalks moving forward with the town, depending on what the town's needs are. Solid waste disposal. I did have originally had 4,000 in there for the tipping fee to add for mattress collection. At our latest select board meeting, we were lucky enough to have the select board approve raising the cost of mattress disposal at the transfer station. So we took that out of the ask here.
You know, I saw that. I was very, very happy you guys, you know, studied that and successfully, you know,
Yeah.
adopted that because, you know, in our financial policies, that's one of the things we pointed out is that for these services that we charge residents for, we don't want them to be loss leaders, right? We want to at least, you know, break even. So,
And we're not trying to make money on it,
Yeah.
but we have to anticipate increasing costs all the way through.
Yeah.
And we don't want to hit them every year with an increase.
Right.
So we're trying to space it out where we can reasonably charge them enough to pay for services with a little more to the increases coming up. So we're looking for grounds and building with an antiquated, you know, building and grounds of the transfer station. It was built in the 70s and 80s, so it's it needs work a lot. I mean, in the 80s, I'm sorry, but we're looking at $4,000 for more for the building and maintenance of the grounds of the transfer station. And cemetery, we're not looking for any change, so those are the only changes I'm looking at.
how about the grounds maintenance and supplies?
For
39,000 under operating expenses.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Step out for 1 second to ask a question.
You want to say?
I just heard grounds and I think I should back up.
Okay. Yeah, do you want me to answer that? Do you want to take that?
So if you have a question, if you repeat the question, I can answer.
Okay, so there is a new expense item in the 2026 request
Yes.
called grounds maintenance and supplies, $39,621.
Yeah.
So,
So we were notified earlier this year that Parks and Recreation would no longer maintain any of the town properties. And that is the Great Derby House, Town Hall, Library, Council on Aging, and Public Safety Building. We are building in some money to manage some of our grounds maintenance. We haven't determined if we have enough money yet well, I can tell you, I don't have enough money to build the grounds division that was recommended by our grounds department study.
Yeah.
But I still need to put some money into DPW budget to maintain some of these grounds. Parks and Rec will no longer maintain.
is there some type of offset in their budget, Parks and Rec's budget for this? In other words, they've been doing it, right?
They've been doing it. They determined with their change in personnel that is no longer a viable option for them.
So the budget would go down a little bit in this category.
No, so all they did was they paid for the personnel. Yeah,
Oh,
so they had a full-time person that did the work using Parks and Rec. So there was no actual funding for it because the only thing that was done was basically lawn mowing.
okay, very good.
So what's that full-time person gonna do now?
They're gonna maintain all the Parks and Recreation properties.
Is that what this cost is? Is that, or this is not salary, right?
This is not salary yet. Right now, I have a quote out to see what it would be to privatize those properties.
Okay,
Until we can figure out how to fully develop the grounds division.
So basically,
so it must, and it was, whatever they did for these particular properties wasn't a full-time job, is what they're saying. Because they still have needs for other parks and rec.
I don't want to speak for them.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll have to ask them.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to understand that.
so as far as the highway departments, we're looking at a total highway divisions of 1.67% increase. Of that 1.67, 7.79% was salary and 0.88% was office.
Okay.
You want to do water and sewer really quick?
Sure.
Okay.
We have those spreadsheets, Frank?
So I didn't put those in there because I wasn't sure if they were final yet by the water and sewer board. But
So we are meeting on the 11th to get final buy-in by the water and sewer board. So if you want to wait for that, I can wait for that.
Maybe we better wait, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's all I have for that.
okay.
What are we waiting for?
The water and sewer. Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Keep the snow away.
If I could, I would.
Kathy, you're next. Good evening.
I'm saying I can't. Sorry, I don't actually be super diligent on this.
I should mention, for people who haven't presented yet, if you have given, a presentation to the select board, we're gonna ask that this committee review that recording so that there's no need to duplicate, duplicate presentations, right? We will, just know that we will have viewed it, and understand, we have a limited amount of time. We have a lot of departments to get through.
Good, because I've already noticed.
Yeah.
I understood that you guys were trying to get through a hefty agenda
Yeah.
instead to just come fair to budget. My most recent presentation to the select board was about the opioid abatement work that is beginning. And that was the focus of the most recent quarterly update. So you're more than welcome to look at.
Great.
That's one big chunk of the work. So I'm here tonight. I think this is gonna be pretty easy. Well, Jillian, are you supposed to say anything on my behalf first? Sorry.
That's okay. No, jump right in. I worked with Kathy on this. Go ahead.
I just think that, I've said before, the Human Services Department, the services we offer our people, they're human to human services. Our operating budget is very small. We've made very good use of leveraging contracts with colleges to have graduate interns and use their services while we're providing them education and opportunity to learn.
Mhm.
So tonight, I'm just asking for level funding. I think that clearly there's needs in the community this year that we will wait to see there should we need things. So we're just asking for level funding, please.
Any questions from, anybody on, outreach? Looks like it's pretty straightforward.
In the presentation that Christine is gonna make later, she's gonna talk about what we're not able to invest. Will there be areas of your?
Yeah, my request is capital stabilization fund. It's a project for space for our people
Right.
to practice with confidentiality. That is the need for my office.
Yeah. That request went to the capital budget committee?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. I do have a question. I think it was last year. I mean, and this might have got resolved favorably, so I'm just trying to refresh my memory. There was some grants that you were relying on to fund certain people. And you were in the process of reapplying for those, and there was a question of whether you were going to get those or not.
Great memory. Right, because I sort of went through appetite to say, I'm not asking now, but I might be, right?
Yeah.
For our full-time prevention worker. So we were refunded in years 6 through 10, but obviously that is, well, I shouldn't say obviously, that is a federal grant, which obviously right now is has some uncertainty to its longevity, given the current status of things. But we were tentatively funded for years 6 through 10. So we
When did
were-
year 6 start?
October 1st of 2024. So we were
Oh,
given
okay.
funded. So every year, so that was a.
So you've
competitive-
actually received some funding.
We did.
Okay.
It's a reimbursement grant, so we draw it down as we incur expense, but we did achieve the competitive bid. And now every year we have to reapply in a non-competitive grant process. So that was good news. And we're in year 6. We're optimistic that we'll go through year 10. Should all this sort of pausing and uncertainty, lift.
Yeah, okay.
So that should give us some breathing room for our prevention coordinator.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Kathy? Well, thank you very much for all you do. Appreciate your hard work and dedication.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure.
Okay, Ian, there you are. Ian just Rogers, the Veteran Service Officer.
Yes, sir.
Did anyone, who covered this? Was that
I
you?
did, but Ian and I had not met.
Okay.
We're gonna do, but nice to meet you.
Why
And I thought somebody else was gonna be speaking, but glad you're here. so.
don't you tell us a little bit, because I don't know if it's your first time before us?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so I just,
Tell us a little bit about your background and what you do.
okay, so, I'm a veteran. I served 2001 to 2004. Over the course of time, I became more and more interested in helping veterans. So, I took a class last year, or actually, it was probably December 2023, on basically becoming a certified VSO. The second I finished that class, the Walpole Medfield job opened up. I live in Walpole.
Okay.
I'm like, this is perfect. I applied and, I think you'll find my passion is second to none. So I just, want to basically serve our veterans.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you. And so it's just Walpole and Medfield at this point? Are there any other?
So that actually is part of this budget. The reason
Okay.
there's an increase is because I was approached late last year by Sherborne. They wanted to join our district. I believe that has been voted on by all select boards at this point. The intermunicipal agreement, I believe, has been passed around. So basically, I'm adding Sherborne
Okay.
to our district, and that will also bring like a part-time admin assistant for me. And I think that's the increasing cost that you'll see here.
Okay.
Um,
And this is our Medfield share of
yeah.
the collective for this, okay.
Which I believe is essentially broken down by population. So Walpole 60 something percent, Medfield's 30, and I think Sherburne's close to between 10 and 11.
How'd they get that 10, 11%? All right, so that's, I mean, so then there's a decrease in veterans benefits, I guess. Is that-
Yeah, I think we reduced that just to be more in line with the benefits that we have paid out in the last 3 years. As you can see, we haven't gone over the 10,000, so I think that would be plenty.
Okay,
What's the primary benefits there?
So for this line item,
Well, I mean, I'm a veteran, but fortunately, I don't need it, but I do appreciate the work you do. But I'm just curious as to what services are primarily provided to veterans in town.
this line item is chapter 115 benefits, which is income-based benefit for veterans in our town. So if they're below the poverty level, chapter 115 will kick in and basically bring them up to poverty level, help pay some of the expenses, co-pays, prescription costs, that kind of thing. So we have 2 people on 115 currently. I don't see that changing. But I also do federal benefits. I became accredited to the VA to help with federal disability claims, survivor's pension, VA pension, education benefits. Basically, I can just help navigate that system for veterans because that system can be quite daunting.
And being this kind of follow up from the outreach, are you engaged in any kind of transitioning for people coming back and needing those kinds of services?
I'm trying. So I'm located at the COA in Walpole. I think I have a good beat on the senior citizen veteran population. I do an outreach, veteran coffee every month at the Medfield COA as well. But I am looking at trying to expand my outreach to the working veterans. I just started a Walpole, veteran and first responder yoga program. That's Tuesdays at 6 p.m. I'm hoping to get some of the younger working veterans out. Low pressure, just come participate in the yoga. And then hopefully by meeting them, I'll be able to get them any benefits that they are looking for or didn't even know they were entitled to.
Great.
yeah. Awesome.
Your salary is split up 3 times then.
Yeah, so, excuse me.
You're missing it here. We're missing it. I didn't see
Salary.
the salary line.
I think it's down lower.
It's like the fourth from the bottom there.
It's not like.
And because.
Oh, okay.
We basically pay Walpole, so it's not included as a salary. Line item.
I see. It's an expense.
Some different departments.
Yeah, okay.
So your healthcare comes through Walpole?
It would, I don't participate, I'm a disabled veteran myself, so I get all my stuff through the VA. But. Yeah, so that's that minus 100% you see here too. I'm not getting any of the benefits.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your service. Thank you for all you're doing for veterans. And we appreciate it. So,
Yeah, excellent.
any other questions?
Very passionate. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Where is Michelle? She was here.
Unfortunately, the chief,
Oh, she had to leave. Okay. Hopefully she'll be back.
I think we're gonna have to move her to a different day.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry about that. All right.
You just intimidated.
Well, hopefully it's not too serious that she had to leave. I guess then that Maria, you're next. Planning and zoning. Okay. Is this you?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maria and I have met a few times to discuss planning and zoning, and Medfield is lucky to have such a passionate person working for them and super organized. I think her budget makes absolute sense, and she'll also walk through a few, if you don't mind, Maria, some of the warrant pieces that are also put forth. Can you just find the correct sheet? So for my budget this year, we're only asking for a $20 increase on my phone line. I don't know. You have a hard bargain. So, it's just, I don't know if Verizon is going to, up how much they charge. It seems to vary every few years. So that's that. Everything else is staying exactly the same. A lot of my line items are very dependent on whatever projects we have going on, whatever town initiated projects. So cost of mailers may go up, the cost of consultants will go up. It's so variable. I would just rather leave them as is. I know for this year we have a wayfinding project, for example, that we may have to supplement with my planning and consultant budget because the grant does not cover the whole contract. That's the same.
Now, do I understand we got some good news this week on the zoning, MBT?
MBTA, we're still compliant by the Sheffield at the state level, which is really great. We'll see what emergency regulations end up becoming official, but as of now, the state has confirmed that we have nothing to worry about. We're still in compliance and eligible for all grant funds.
Good.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
I opened their emails with fear now, so. Figure out to kill every matter, but we'll get through it.
And how's the last year you talked about a project to digitize your department.
Yeah.
In the records. How's that going?
It's going well. I received all of my boxes now. It was literally a truck full of boxes. There's like 80 boxes returned. I am waiting on the scanning company to now index them so I can upload them to the online portal. So that I'll have my first round of records, which is exciting. There are some boxes that were missed. We have a lot of files in storage. So I think I mixed like 4 boxes, which is something I can scan this summer.
Okay.
So that would provide a comprehensive record for planning and zoning since like the 50s to the early 2000s, which is very exciting. Everything that's a little more recent, I usually tend to have digital copies because of my predecessor. So we're getting there. So I'm going to keep asking for more grant funds and see if we can scan some of the conservation files then.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, thanks for undertaking that. You know, it's a big project. Does the planning board, do they have any expenses? Are they in this budget or?
I am the expense.
You are, okay, yeah.
It's really just like.
But they don't have any, other than what we see here, there's no.
No, No, they don't have, this budget is intended to cover any, sort of assistance that they would need, like if we're gonna have hearings for zoning changes that comes out of my, postage budget, if we need to print out flyers, I needed to pay for any of that, and that comes out of like printage or postage or office supplies, so it all comes out of here. And consultants, we usually, when we get a big project, applicants pay for their engineers and our engineers, so it's like a 53G, peer review account. But sometimes when it's a town initiated project, we have to pay for our own. So, like I had to update some of the GIS maps a few years ago, and to do that, we need to go through a GIS consultant and so a little process, and that was like $1,200 to do so.
Okay.
The example you gave was the Hinckley Park.
The Hazley part was
Yeah. That's a prize.
somewhat unexpected and pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Item. So yes, it's always good to have a little buffer there, because some of these you can't really predict needing help. Sometimes it's specialized counsel, sometimes we get very niche questions. So it's just good to have a flexible consulting account.
Yeah, okay. And we always, as I don't know if you know, but there is a reserve account to deal with surprises that come up during the year. It usually gets spent most of the time, but
Yeah.
sometimes there's extra left over, but things that we couldn't anticipate or plan for. So,
Yes, Christine and I have on occasion have had those conversations.
yeah. Any other questions on planning?
I don't know if we would discuss now, just with having been part of this process, the zoning articles that.
Okay, I
That-
think for the zoning articles, there's a number of them. We didn't include it in our agenda.
Okay.
So I don't think we should talk about them now, because we could be here for another hour probably. So I think in March, we'll have a separate, meeting. I'll ask you to come back to talk about
Yeah.
this, four of them?
Yes, we may or may not drop two.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see.
That's great. That's great.
So it's worth the wait.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we will have you back.
If we wait any longer, can we? Fewer?
I think two is the bare minimum, so we're out of luck.
Okay,
But you also oversee, because you're planning and land use, so you oversee the conservation side, right?
Yes, as well. And we have a conservation chair, Deborah Vera here.
That's right.
We also fill in on some of the.
Why don't you come on up with and sit next to,
So I can
Sure,
run
yeah.
through some of the changes, and Debbie can fill you in on additional details. We've been working on, conservation has overseen some major changes. We are trying to put us up to speed on all the needs that the department has. So some of the changes we've seen, we're increasing training and education by another $200, and that's being merged with dues and membership. That is, the merger of those, budget lines, as I understand, is consistent across all town departments. And the increase of $200 is to support our new agent, Finn Kelly, who's actually also here tonight. So this would allow for around 12 classes offered through the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions. Our agent is currently taking some classes under this fiscal year, and it will continue to take some more. I think most of the classes come in the spring and fall, as I understand it. So, yes, so we are also really trying to encourage commissioners to use this line item. We've had, I know the Conservation Commission has very strongly expressed interest in additional education support. And I believe commissioners may be going through these courses and perhaps not submitting for reimbursements. So Debbie and I are trying to send a message that please take advantage of these opportunities, and definitely please submit your costs to us so we have an accurate picture of the need of the commission to keep receiving education. It's such a niche topic.
Yeah.
You don't really learn unless you go through these organizations and by doing the work.
and it's constantly changing, right? So there's always something to learn. Yeah.
Yes. So that's one of the changes. We are also asking for $5,000 in conservation consultant. This is something that we were before we had Finn Kelly, our new conservation agent. We had some consultant on board who worked on an hourly basis as needed. And he was fantastic, but we're also recognizing the need that same as the planning and zoning budgets, sometimes for town initiated projects, in-house staff may not have the expertise or the time for some very specific questions. So it's important to be able to support the commission in their initiatives, especially environmental work can be litigious work. So we want to make sure that we're doing right by the environment and writing enforceable regulations. So that's where the 5,000 came from. That's fairly consistent with how much planning and zoning get. We have around 7,500 planning and zoning combined.
So can I ask a question on that? So I understand, was this the cost of the agent for a number of years?
Can we address this question? Would that be all right with you?
Sure.
Because I think that the consulting budget is not, it didn't have anything to do with the agent. And when Concom has an appeal or has, some other additional matters, we can't use a peer review consulting account to support that fee. So there are instances where we need an independent consultant that is not paid for by an applicant on a project, and particularly in the context of appeal. And the last year when that arose and we needed that independent consultant, we had to wait for an executive session with the select board to have that conversation. This was in litigation and subject to an executive session process, to have that conversation, to request the money and to get a vote, and then to have the money, I think it had to go through the Warrant Committee and then have the money released. The name of it was sort of a time consuming process and delayed the process of the appeal. So it's really sort of an emergency type of fund to make some monies available immediately. And at the end of the year, of course, if it's not used, it's obviously returned. So that's really the purpose of that fund. And to the extent that with the consultant with Bob Hartzell, that was an entirely different situation where we did not have an agent.
Right.
Right. And so it was really sort of taking the money that would otherwise have been allocated to an agent and having to wait 8, 9, however many months, 6 months in order to fund that position and to fund the agent. And the agent was essentially doing all of the technical work, and I was doing all of the administrative work and all the legal pieces for the commission through this period of time. So this is really, I think, what you're seeing in the budget request for Concom. It has been, in my opinion, just sort of overdue. And the fact that a lot of the commissioners are spending a lot of time, a lot of effort and energy to try to do the work, but we haven't had a full-time agent. So we're very thankful that we have Ben, but there's a lot of training to be involved in that as well. So our time is something.
Well, that's helpful. Thank you. So just so I understand, the $52,000 for the 24 actual in the consultant line item.
That budget line was previously what we charged our consultant services to. That's where you see those numbers. That and the encumbrance are, the cost of the work for our agent varied depending on the amount of work that was coming in. So
it was a transfer from the conservation agent's salary to that line item.
That's what I was trying to understand.
Yes.
The cost of that agent,
Yes.
that temporary agent,
Because you
is in that consulting line item.
Because you couldn't pay the temporary agent out of the salary.
Okay.
We needed to wait until we could move that.
Because I see 0 up above
Yes.
under the salary line. So I just was assuming. And then once you got somebody in the 25 request, we put a request in for a full-time person. So there is now, is that is it Hartzell? Is that the guy's name?
Right.
So did he do any work in 25, and where's that expense?
So he did work up to October 17th, and he's done some supplemental work since then in the context of training the agent.
we have a bill that we're working on paying.
Okay.
There'll be a reserve fund transfer.
A reserve fund.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's fine, that's fine. Okay,
That's why it's not currently reflected. So we're going from having an agent and Debbie doing so much, like all of the day-to-day work.
yeah,
Now having a staff member who can now do that. So that this line is dropping down to 5,000 and being reserved for specialized counsel in cases of
Okay.
appeals or
okay.
initiatives.
And I guess I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to, because I think he's right back there,
Yeah.
introduce our new agent. Right, why don't you introduce yourself?
Everyone, I'm Finn Kelly. I'm the new conservation agent. I started in October 2024. I've been taking over all the admin work, the field work, doing a lot of training. Couldn't be more thankful for Maria, Christine, Frank, and especially Deb and Commissioner Woodhall and Bobby and everyone else in the commission. It's been awesome being in the field.
Okay,
We
great.
really wanted him to show up as waiters today.
What was your background?
I graduated from Northeastern University with a master's in environmental science and policy. In 2024, I worked for the town of Yarmouth. Before I came here.
Welcome. Yeah, welcome.
Brent, can we vouch for that degree at?
Yeah, that's a excellent degree choice.
All right.
Brent's a.
Fellow Husky.
Brent's a professor.
He's a dean, actually, yeah.
Dean of school. Probably signed a diploma.
Mhm.
Okay,
You're welcome.
and I guess so that salary increase we see in 26 is the full-time.
Yes.
Just got it, okay. All right, so any other questions on this? Is there anything else you wanted to add on this? or-
No, we had a
Okay.
great meeting yesterday going over the budget and kind of what the asks are for, especially some of the articles that were put forth, and we'll discuss.
Now,
in future meetings.
yeah, I will say that we will have you or a subset of you, I don't know if you're all come, but there's, I think, 3 articles
Mhm.
in the warrant that deal with conservation. And so we will have you back to talk specifically about those. You can explain the need and why you think we need, the article, or how you would recommend we vote on it. So those dates will be sometime in March.
Okay.
So there's 2 dates in March. There's March 11th or the 25th. Okay, and so if one of you could get back to me, let me know which one you prefer. Kind of first come, first serve, I guess, but we'll try to accommodate it. Okay, okay.
And there's one more thing I missed. It's another $20 online.
Oh.
That's a third change.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate everything you do. It's an important role you play. Thank you. All right. We're going pretty quick here. The police, that really sped us up. Okay, we're Bill, Captain Bill.
Yeah, maybe I'll just introduce.
Yeah.
We had a chance to meet for the first time yesterday, talk through, nice to meet in person. Just talk through some of the challenges and opportunities in the budget. Seems to be a pretty straightforward request, and I'll let you speak to it, but it seems to be in good shape.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm here on behalf of Chief Jericho. So our budget for the year for a total of 45,786.28 increase. Out of that, 37,354.28 contractual raises, etc. And then some just little raises amongst some of these categories here. The 267 and the 1,300, another equipment, and that's just vehicle repairs, maintenance. As needed throughout the year. The $700 for equipment contract sets for an increase in the contract for our program for our EMS rating that we have to maintain. The biggest one that jumps off the page is this increase of $3,120 for utilities and telephones. That is because the town recently went around and we installed AEDs at all the sports fields throughout the country. And inside of those AED cabinets, when somebody opens a cabinet, it automatically dials 911. So inside that cabinet, there's a SIM card, a cell phone card. So somebody in town has to pay for those cell phones, so it came to the fire department budget. So that's why that jumped up. So we're paying for those phone mounts now.
How many are there?
6 of them throughout town.
6? Okay.
Wheelock, McCarthy, Memorial, middle school, high school.
So what was one on?
No, that's one on the Americans are on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Some of these hidden costs you don't think about when you do.
The one at Wheelock School, if you're pulling in the entrance to like the
Field, yeah.
and you got the playground and sports fields off on your right side of the building, I guess.
Okay.
Not over by the soccer field.
Oh, or the other side.
Over by the playground, the baseball field, over on that side of the building. We do have some signs and placards that have yet to install, that kind of direct people where they are.
So just so I understand this, your telephone bill prior to the AEDs was like $3,700, and now it's almost doubling because of this.
Yeah, so what we pay for now is obviously the cheapest one. Each ambulance has to have it. In it, contact the emergency room, talk to the doctor.
Yeah.
Cardiac monitors, they have a cell phone, to transmit. You have to EKG or something to transmit to the hospital.
Yeah.
You have a couple of laptops, and we're working on transitioning some laptops to get some dispatch information as we respond.
Okay.
One of the most interesting parts of the budget was related to the movement of some of the ambulance costs to the revolver, I think last year. Remember we did that?
Oh, yeah.
So the numbers, if you look back in the previous years, they're all higher than the current year for the most part. And so I was sort of asking a bit about that. And that's how, and there's also a capital budget request for the new ambulance. So there was a bunch of activity related to ambulance. Some moving parts in there.
So then 2,400 for the clothing allowance for the 4 new employees that we just hired.
Okay.
That's where we're at with the increase for the fire department. Emergency management staying the same.
Can I ask a question? So the 4 new employees, their salary's not in this budget because it's offset.
It's offset by the grant.
But there were some other costs that we have.
Those are included.
Those are in here?
Yeah.
Those are the training clothing.
Clothes, okay.
Yeah, it's 28,709.
Yeah. And
the benefits are covered, right? Okay, so salary and benefits are covered.
Salary benefits, the 28,000 doesn't cover any paid time off.
vacation, time off, overtime.
Okay.
Does this reflect the new contract?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one, I always, this is the budget piece, but on the capital budget this year is overall good shape in terms of the status of equipment and trucks and vehicles and.
Yes, we're working on specking out a new ambulance on the capital budget for this year. The issue we're having with that is all the vendors are 2 years out, just obtaining a chassis, so.
So we had talked about, I was going to go into business making ambulances.
Yeah. So it's,
Fire trucks.
yeah. So
I learned a lot in this meeting.
If it does get approved through town meeting, capital budget, we're still looking 2 years before we take possession of it.
But in terms of, catching up, because I know that 3 or 4 years ago, we were in a hole.
Yeah.
We're
We're as far as equipment goes, we're pretty good right now. had the two engines purchased a couple of years ago. We rotate the two of them back and forth as not to just overload one of them with miles and wear and tear.
I would say just as an aside, like it's a little hard, the way we moved the expenses into that revolver last year. And then we have the ambulances through the capital budget committee. And then we have the sort of, we get revenue from the using of the ambulances by going to other towns. And that goes into the revolver.
Yeah.
But then we need a new ambulance because we wear it out so fast because we're driving all over the place. But that goes to the capital budget. It's a little confusing.
Well, I know I think in the warrant this year, there's an article to combine these two.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two revolving funds.
Revolving funds.
Is that probably why?
Yeah.
That will hopefully
Oh, there we
get
go.
rid of some of the confusion.
There we go.
Yeah, just for historical context on that, we had originally set up the ambulance fund when the fire department took over the ambulance from the police department hundreds of years ago. When we were making the transition from basic life support to advanced life support,
Right.
we created a separate revolving fund because there were some questions as to whether or not we would raise enough revenue
Right. I
to
remember that.
offset the cost.
Yeah,
So-
you wanted to track it. I
Yep.
remember that.
So
Yeah.
now that we've proven that successful, thanks to Bill, we'll now transition that into one revolver.
Progress.
What goes into other equipment? Seems like this in the twenties every year. This, the second line item. What's in that?
27,500.
27,500 budget the next year.
That's chief careful would be, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to say
Okay,
one thing,
yeah.
not have it be exact.
It's a kind of fairly consistent expense. I just wonder. There's replacement.
If I had to guess, it would be replacement of gear, it would be replacement of boots, it would be just wearing high items.
Yeah.
Yep. If say I my turnout coat wears out. Those are
It's the collective
it was like $2,000 a piece.
Right.
Mm.
Okay.
Anything you see ahead that's going to be a challenge for the department?
We're moving a lot of stuff to digital, so I know I can speak for the inspection end of it with records keeping and stuff. We're moving. Everything's digital, showing it digital, scanning everything. We're looking hopefully to have computer screens, a laptop or something in the engine, so if we're responding, we can get updates. Look up the hydrant location, look up that type of stuff. Christine's gonna speak on a couple of things.
Yeah, okay.
How many full-time, part-time people do we have?
We have 16 full-time firefighter paramedics, including the captains and the chief is full-time. We have 12 call members right now. Yeah.
How's the on-call working? I know is it good participation? Because I know that's been a concern.
We have a handful that are very consistent. We have 5 or 6 that are very consistent. We have 5 or 6 that are in the middle, and then we have a few that we're working on. Yeah, so
You know, as the demographics change, it becomes more of a challenge, right?
yes, yeah, it's tougher to find someone who has the time to dedicate to it with their other jobs, and there's more training that's now mandated.
Thanks for what you do.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. And for everything you do, you
Stay safe.
know.
Thank you.
Okay. Michelle's not coming back, right?
She's not coming.
Okay. That's- All right then. You want to come up and then we can go through your stuff?
Why don't we do, let's do the health insurance first. And then we'll go from there. I'll make sure. There we go.
What are we calling this section?
This is,
I want to talk to you about healthcare.
Healthcare.
healthcare,
Oh,
and then, we're gonna get an update on, the town budget process.
I'll make sure. Okay.
I can see it online. But
So it's not letting me share.
let me try.
Abstract.
Huh. That's very strange. Well, is it even a meeting if you don't have technical difficulties, sir? I can go through this without slides. I'll.
You wanna send it to me, Frank, and maybe I
Yeah,
can share?
you can-
Sure. Yeah.
okay. You can do it as PDF, that's fine too.
That's because I'm a host over on this computer and then also in a meeting on this laptop.
Yeah.
Steve, I'll send you this one and then I'll send you another email.
Okay. It's going to China before it comes here. There it goes, I got it. Yeah.
Talk about upgrading the Wi-Fi here.
It's had a project on the list.
Keep moving higher up the list.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if this works.
This one right here. There you go.
Health insurance. There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
I don't apologize, Frank, it just proves that you actually did it, I mean, you know. It's good, isn't it?
So I know we have some new members this year, and I just wanted to go back over this, where healthcare is our insurance is such a big driver of our budget. I really wanted to make sure everybody understands the whole process. So health insurance in Massachusetts is a mandatory subject of collective bargaining, MGL 150E. In 2011, the Commonwealth passed landmark health insurance reform, which streamlined the process of bargaining healthcare plan design change.
Oh, next one.
Next one, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, briefly what we offer in Medfield. So we offer a health insurance benefit to all of our full-time active and retired employees. And the health insurance budget includes both school and town employees. We joined the Maya Health Benefits Trust in 2009, and that's the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Agency, which is a nonprofit arm of the Mass Municipal Association. They're currently one of the largest municipal purchasing collaboratives in the nation. And the coverage provided by Maya is through Blue Cross Blue Shield. And we offer an HMO, a PPO, an HMO, high deductible plan, and Medex for our retirees. We also currently offer a voluntary dental, and last year with our plan design change, we now offer a vision benefit to our employees as well. And then just a refresher, so we do a cost sharing relationship in terms of the health insurance premiums. So if you're an active employee on the HMO plans, the town covers 62% of your insurance premium, and the employee is responsible for 38%. If you are on the PPO plan, it's a 50-50 split, and retirees who are on the HMO or the Medex Medicare wrap plan is also a 50-50 share. So the Public Employment Committee is a legislation that I discussed earlier. You have representation from all of the unions, a municipal retiree representative, and the vote is based on the union membership. And the town negotiates directly with one PEC. Prior to the legislation in 2011, you were required to bargain individually with each union to do plan design change. The town did not take advantage of the changes back in either 2005 or 2011. So last year is the first year we worked on a plan design change through this model. Prior to that, we had an informal advisory committee that worked very hard on both sides to work on plan design. We had a failed plan design change in 2023, and that's why we were forced to move to this model. I will tell you the unions were incredible in this process. We did not use the formal mandated process. We still used a voluntary process. It was just more formal than our IAC process what had been in the past. We currently have a memorandum of understanding for health insurance, and that covers fiscal year 25, our current year, next year for fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27. And basically what that says is we will not change the plan design for 3 years. And our HMO, we did introduce a low deductible on our HMO plan, and that's where the cost savings came in doing the plan design change.
Those are, well, 500 and 1,000.
Yes, and our high deductible plan is significantly higher than that. So our health insurance budget drivers, we meet with our insurance representative in the fall, and they advised most of the municipalities to plan on a 10% increase in premiums. There were some municipalities that were told higher based on their claims or their reluctance to even introduce the plan design changes. I think there's still 3 towns that don't have any deductible on their HMO plan. There were 4, now 3. But they just announced, Maya had a meeting this past weekend at the Mass Municipal Association, and they announced based on some drivers that they did not see, will actually be a 9.9% to a 19.9% increase on the health insurance premiums. And we are seeing that across the board. And that is based on increased utilization. Coming out of COVID, people are going to the doctor a lot more. We're seeing a lot more mental health utilization. There's a rise in the prescription cost of drugs and the increase in prescription drug usage. And a lot of that is being driven by the GLP weight loss drugs.
Can I ask you a question on,
Sure.
10 to 20%, that's a fairly wide range. So what guidance did they give you on where towns may fall in that range, right? Or is it just that uncertain at this point they can't tell?
Well, so the difference between when you are in the Maya program, your rate is depending on your personal experience for our risk pool for the town.
Okay.
So while it's underwritten by Maya, your rate is based on your level of experience. So they're running those numbers now, determine but the rate won't, no single town will go beyond the 19.8. And those towns that have, that are experiencing this large increase, with Maya will be working with them to move to other plans, the GIC being one of them, to a much larger risk pool. So
the hope is that we're at the lower end of this.
I'm hoping we're at the lower end. We got a little nervous and we have changed our budget to be 15%. I didn't want to keep the 10, knowing that there was the opportunity for us to come in at the.
And you'll know next week, you said?
They said end of next week,
Okay.
which means beginning of next week, but I've been emailing them every day since last Thursday, so
Okay.
But the memo of understanding means we can't make a change anyway.
can't make a plan design change.
Plan
Yeah.
design change.
No plan design change. So we will be stuck with whatever increase comes
Right.
when we get it next week. I'm really hoping it falls within the 12 to 15. I'd love the 9.9, but
Just picks on the GIC. I remember when GIC first came in, there was a groundswell of activity. People moving, towns moving to GIC.
absolutely,
And then
well,
that failed.
it failed.
And then,
Yeah,
but they still are.
it's
Well, they,
back. It's
Yeah, Westwood has.
Yeah,
Really?
so a lot of towns moved in 2011 when the legislation passed. A lot of towns moved immediately into the GIC because you didn't have to bargain any plan design change. So when you move to the GIC, the towns lose all control for plan design changes. The GIC and the state manage all of that. So you do lose a little bit of that kind of local control over your own health insurance plan. The GIC has not announced their increases. We anticipate those will be in mid-March. They had originally given guidance to Westwood and several other of my colleagues to be around at least the 10% mark.
Yeah.
We assume they are seeing the same increases that nobody expected when those were first given. Just to point out, some of the smaller risk pools, Minuteman Neshoba was in business for 34 years. I think they started in 1990. They just folded last year. They had about 10 or 15 towns in that they couldn't handle the rising costs of the premiums and the reinsurance. So after 34 years, they notified their members they had to find other health insurance benefits. They were notified, I believe, in January that they would all lose coverage on July 1st.
Those are insurance providers?
Mhm.
These are what? Minuteman
So
Neshoba?
Minuteman Neshoba is a joint purchasing group.
A joint
So,
purchasing.
it was a lot of regional school districts and a few towns out that way. Actually, I have a list of them somewhere in my notes. And I talked to a colleague this morning, and Berkshire Health out Western Mass voted a 16% increase to their premiums. So it's something that I think isn't specific to Maya or to Blue Cross. We're seeing it across the board, and I'm sure all of you are seeing it in your own health insurance increases for your premiums.
Yeah, and it's just, this is our largest fixed cost. Bigger than pension, bigger than our debt service.
Yeah.
Um,
The increase announced at the Mass Municipal Association meeting, the business meeting on Saturday, was not well received by towns. This is the biggest budget driver for all of the towns around us. So we're reaching a crisis. To stay within Proposition 2.5, we're going to have to do something about the health insurance costs. So it was a big topic of discussion on Saturday. We anticipate the final rates in early February. So I think until we get that final notification, we're kind of in a holding pattern on this, at least big budget piece.
Well, that was very informative, helpful. Not great news, but
It's not-
it is what it is, right?
It's not great news. I will tell you that Maya has an actuarial firm that they use every year to review their rates, to view their assumptions. They brought in 2 other actuarial firms this year because they wanted to make sure, especially after given our Norfolk County issue, to make sure that all 3 actuarials were reading the market the same way. And similar to other towns, a lot of them are using the same actuaries to do those studies. So.
One little thing. I'm a little surprised that when you're in a consortium this large, I would have thought that the risk would have been spread across all of the participants. So you wouldn't be relying just on Medfield's.
So it's not just Medfield, but your plan design and your own increases based on somewhat on your experience. And what they're trying to do is getting us to encourage our employees to be better users of the insurance to promote better experience.
So what's
Move
the
to
benefit?
move the deductible.
Move to the high deductible plan.
So what's the
Yeah.
benefit of the consortium?
Yeah.
It's a bigger risk pool,
Well, then, but
But
the
it's
risk is
still
not,
very
but the risk
far
is only on your.
except
Your own
Maya's
experience.
underwriting some of that. So you're getting the reserves of the Maya Health Benefit Trust. So for the past 3 years, they've been running into the reserves on this.
So there is.
Yes.
So to the extent that you exceed what they expected, they went to the reserve.
Right.
As opposed to spread among all the participants. or when the reserve runs out.
So they brought an actuarial in to reserve the reserves. That is why the rate increase is more significant than they anticipated because they don't want to dip far into the reserves. And I think the Neshoba Regional is a good example of what happens when you dip into your reserves too far.
So they maintain a reserve for each community in that.
Yes.
Can I ask this question? Where, under the MOU, we're required to keep the plan the same, but are we required to use MIA?
Yes,
So that they're both locked.
they're both locked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was,
We
you
didn't
had to
go.
keep Blue Cross Blue Shield for the next 3
Right,
years.
okay.
When do you start, looking?
So I would not recommend going to an alternative for the health insurance. I don't think that our employees would be happy with going with the GIC, but we'll start having those conversations as we near probably 6 to 8 months before the MOU expires to have those conversations with them.
Is that the only other option?
Yeah, it's not like,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
you can't do
I
like
mean,
some federal
keep in
thing?
mind, this is keep,
Oh, no doubt. I know, it's important.
yeah, but
I was
keep
just
in
curious.
mind, this is a shared cost between the town and the employees, right?
Yeah.
So they're not happy either.
No.
Right.
No, nobody's happy.
I
about
know,
this.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Of course.
I just didn't know if there was more.
Yeah, but I mean, it has to be a Massachusetts backed, whatever, MIA, or it all has to be in state?
I don't know of any town that uses them out of state.
Christine, which one of these plans, there's like 5 of them here, is the high deductible one?
Is the,
Is it the,
Access.
yeah, the first one, Access Blue Any Saver High Deductible? I guess if I read it, I would have known the answer to that. Okay. So,
and that is the one that we offer the HSA with as well.
so we only have 32 employees
Correct.
in that plan. Most of our employees are in the HMO Blue one.
And I think,
Well, I guess the medics too, but those are retirees, right?
I think prior to our change, and when we did the MOU and we did the plan design, we offer much greater incentive to go to the high deductible plan. And we make a significant contribution to the HSA as well. I think prior to the MOU, we only had 7 people enrolled in
Okay.
the high deductible plan. So we did see it's not significant when you look, it's only 37
Yeah.
to the total, but
Yeah.
a significant increase both based on what we had before.
I mean, is some of it just education that people,
I
or
think
they're
it's
just
education.
nervous?
I think a lot of people don't understand the high deductible plan.
Mhm.
They think it's a lot more work for them. So it's educating them how to do it. And we have a couple of employees who have been really great at advocating for it and talking, kind of being our point people
Hmm.
to talk to other employees. We have a gentleman in the DPW who's, I can't believe everybody's not on it. And so we kind of sent him out. These talks on it, so.
Well, if you're young and healthy, right? It's
Yeah, we are finding people who are, a lot of our newer employees who are hiring, are choosing that because it's the least expensive option.
Yeah.
And their families might be more familiar with the high deductible, so they're more apt to choose that now than they were a few years ago.
Do any towns self-insure? Like,
Yeah, so we used to be self-insured.
Yeah,
um,
do that.
until 2009.
okay.
All right. Any other questions on health insurance?
No, but it does show the challenges that the town faces now and going forward, when you see that, you can allocate 3.5% for an increase, and then in your by far largest budget item goes up by 13%. It's really.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
No, and I think that was the phrase that most people use both at the Maya board meeting that I sit in on, and then also at the Maya business meeting, was this model of healthcare for all of us is not sustainable.
Right.
Especially like 10% if we didn't plan change last year, another 15-ish.
Yes, you're talking about
That was
a
impossible for 3 years.
25% increase. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, that's why I'm losing
Yeah.
people to towns that, can offer more salary offset to do that.
Yeah.
So it makes recruitment and retention more difficult.
You want to go on to your next presentation here? I pulled it up for you.
So I just wanted to talk to you about, I pared this down from my select board presentation, since a lot of it I talk about the warrant committee guidance, but I assume you're all familiar with that. So I'm gonna flip to what I've included in the initial budget. So based on the warrant committee's guidance, we've been able to include the compensation and classification plan for non-union employees. And we're still in the process of disseminating that information out to the employees. However, we have an overall cost to that compensation plan, and that's been included in this budget. Along with that is a 2% non-union COLA increase for fiscal year 26. It includes the fire collective bargaining agreement. It includes the first year of that contract, which is fiscal year 2026. And Captain DeKing spoke about that earlier. It includes the safer grant costs that were not funded by the grant. It includes the new intermunicipal agreement for the regional veterans agent. So it's now Walpole, Medfield, and Sherburne. It includes the full funding for the conservation agent and the Parks and Recreation Assistant Director position. It includes the first year implementation in the IT budget for the Open Gov software platform that we are launching. It includes the funding set aside for ground maintenance that you so keenly picked up on, my $39,000 in the DPW budget. And we are facing a significant increase in natural gas costs, so we've increased the facilities budget to reflect that. So I think we've been fairly great to include these. However, in my next slide, I'd like to talk about the things that are not included in my initial budget. We are unable to fund the new staff to develop the DPW grounds division. We just completed the grounds study. It was done by the Collins Center. Just waiting for the final draft to come back. We went through the initial draft. Their recommendation for, I believe it's 4 staff people, is not sustainable in this budget. So we're trying to figure out the best way to move that forward. The budget that I will present to the select board does not include a council on aging receptionist. We asked Sarah Hannafin, who's the director of the council on aging, to continue to utilize senior tax work off where appropriate. We were unable to increase the funding for the library materials. I believe Pam explained that to you at her meeting a few weeks ago. She was looking for a $1,000 increase, and we were not able to keep that in there. We had planned on what we call the floating administrative clerk for the townhouse. That's not included in here. And we were not able to fund the day captain, deputy chief for the fire department as part of our succession planning. So those are the items that we have not been able to include in this initial round.
So that last one, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The DPW grounds division, 4 people. Well, we're taking the care of the, I'm a little bit confused on that. Why do we need that?
Right now,
Care of it.
well, with Parks and Recreation,
Right.
yeah,
Oh.
the school department privatizes all of their grounds maintenance.
Right.
And we have some open space management that has not been done. So we were forming a grounds division to handle all of those things.
Some of that would be offset by like the school departments.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there'd be some.
Yeah.
So the schools would come to the fore.
Oh, so the schools would utilize it. Well.
Yeah. Yes, we just got the study about a month ago, so we have not been able to figure out the best way to transition that forward for fiscal year 26. We're almost there, just not 100%.
Yeah, I was surprised that the number was 4, but I guess we have a lot of property to care for. Yeah. What do they do in the wintertime?
Oh, that's when it gets really exciting. So we need plow drivers, if anybody's interested. We're looking for plow drivers. And they shift to more of the outside work that the regular DPW does.
Okay.
So we envision that while this is a separate division, it would operate similar to most other divisions, is that they swing back and forth where they're needed. They would move to their winter operations.
That makes sense. So that last one, the no day captain deputy chief. So is that his role to now? Are you the deputy chief or are you?
No, I'm fire captain.
You're fire captain, okay,
I do fire prevention.
okay.
For us, but I still work my normal rotation, so I'm on shift.
Got it.
I'm doing kind of the 2 positions.
I see, okay, got it. That's why we need
Yes.
the position, okay.
Yeah. So one of the promises I made to the select board when I was promoted in 2019 was that we would work on succession planning in all of our departments. So we have been, I believe we have an internal candidate that we will put forth to the select board to do a process with the select board for an internal candidate. Given that, I'm not sure if everybody knows, so I should say that Chief Carrico is retiring on May 2nd. I know I said March the other day, but it is actually May.
We're very
So-
sorry to see that.
Yes, so that's changed up our succession planning in terms of being able to fill the deputy chief position as well, so.
So, yeah, I know it goes without saying, but those kinds of positions, how do you evaluate that in terms of risk of coverage? Well, I mean, given staffing and like, whether it's fire or whether it's police, I mean, the safety, how do you balance that need for a position and unable to fund it with the need to provide the level of service that the town?
So I think in
What-
terms of where it's a deputy chief, the deputy chief position was really to ensure that we could do succession planning, so I had somebody training with the chief on a daily basis. Similar to when Mary McGrath, who's in the police department, we created the deputy chief position in the police department. So we're really trying to make our internal candidates ready to do that.
Be
A new
redundant.
position.
You know,
Well, yeah, but I mean, and I think in terms of just the expenses, part of our role, I think, is to educate.
Mhm.
And I think also as we do our diligence to address the kinds of questions to make sure that we are not taking risks on the side of safety and the like. So I appreciate your clarification there and saying, okay, this is not, we're not balancing something, saying we need it, but we can't afford it. So we'll make sure that's,
Yes.
thank you.
so I'm gonna ask you a question, but related to these next steps, but
Yes.
you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. Basically, if
Wow. Yeah.
if the let's hypothetically say the health insurance comes in less than the 15, right?
Mhm.
What would you do with that difference in terms of those unmet needs,
I would fund the grounds division.
the grounds division?
Yeah,
Sure.
I've been talking about it for 6 years. We've studied it twice. We need to stop, trying to figure out on Tuesday whose turn it is to mow the lawn somewhere.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look great. And I think that's a reflection when people drive through town and the pride that we show. If the town hall doesn't look great, I mean, the fact that I've got firefighters using the beds at the public safety building so that I can, have a Memorial Day presentation is not okay. It's not fair.
Yeah.
And it's something I think we need to address, and we've ignored and tried to piecemeal for a long time. But you just can't keep ignoring it.
No, that's helpful.
How big is the line item with the school budgets with having it? I'm assuming it's outsourced.
Yeah,
I think they're mowing for the fields. Beyond that, I'm not sure, but I think they're mowing for the fields is over. I don't know if, yeah, beyond.
A
that, I'm not
huge
sure.
gain from
yeah,
like that to salary shift.
Let it
but-
go away.
Right.
yeah.
And,
Be
yeah,
nice if it funded the place.
Yeah, so I don't think, I think, I also think the recommendation of having 4 people and creating this department is, what we'd really like to see. But I think as we've done over the last few years is that we transition slowly. We also have to maintain part of the Medfield State Hospital because we're not selling all of that to Trinity. We're keeping a lot of the open space and that needs to be maintained. So that also becomes our responsibility as well.
I know that in prior watching some of the select board meetings, that it's been referenced that we have a lot of open space that we're not.
We're not properly maintaining. No, I think that was clear when we did the open space plan. We don't have the ability to do that currently. We just don't have anybody dedicated to do that.
It would be a huge reduction in your time spent herding the cats to get to cut the grass.
I just figure every other Tuesday it's my turn outside.
just remember.
Which I laughed, but Sarah Hannafin was like mowing the lawn like 6 months ago, so.
I'm trying to take care of the,
She was.
I just heard about trying to take care of the planter in front of the light.
Exactly, and the mulch and the, we don't include mulch. So a couple of years ago, a library trustee went out and bought mulch, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
That garden club.
I don't know what I would do without the garden club.
Don't go there because the garden club was in the middle of that too. That's how I heard about it.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do without the garden club, because they're incredibly helpful to making things look nice that we. So.
So your work is still ongoing then, right? And you'll,
Yeah.
I guess next week you might know a little bit more.
I'm hoping we know a little more. I've talked to all of my department heads. They know that there could be some movement in their budgets as we try to refine this. Obviously, if it does come in at 15, if it comes in higher than the 15%, they know that there's some things that we're going to have to address.
Yeah, so that's another point. So what we've been reviewing doesn't include the cut to 15. Right. Okay.
Do we plan for fiscal year 2027 with some of the reserves that were on an increase like that again coming up? Is there anything that would do with some of these other accounts?
I'm not sure. I mean, we're talking now about operating budgets, right? So we don't, with the reserves we have, the purpose of them are generally for either the special purpose stabilization reserves. There's a general reserve. But the thinking there is that sort of the rainy day fund for a real serious, downturn in economic conditions where we don't want to lay off fire, police, DPW people. So we take the money out of there to get through an economic downturn.
But generally, we don't want to use a reserve for a recurring.
Of
course,
I know.
right.
I'm just like watching the trend over.
Yeah, I mean,
You build it into the plan.
I mean, the reserve, at some point, the pain's too tough and the answer is an override, right? That's really the answer, so. All right, anything else on the budget? Okay. All right. What else we got? Agenda here, I guess. Any updates from, any other updates? On the okay. Committee updates. Let's see, Brent, you still with us here? Yes, he is.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, hold on a second, Brent, we have a question.
There, with all the news that's coming in, is there a point in time that will be a discussion item? Less in the budget.
I mean, I think, and from the operating budget perspective, our funding typically is, most of it comes from the state. There are federal grants that I think the fire department one.
Fire safety grant is included.
Yeah, so if that, that cost is tied directly to that federal grant. What's the other one?
The carefree drug prevention.
Oh, right, yeah.
And
Yeah, the one that we heard about earlier, yeah. So,
we're waiting for guidance. We've received some updates from our legislative delegation. Stay tuned.
so I think it's sort of minimal impact to the operating budget, but I know the hope is that the ARPA money doesn't all of a sudden disappear. That they don't claw that back somehow.
Yes, especially since it's been committed to projects.
Yeah.
So if we built some projects, so the playground will stay.
Yeah.
That one's done. Yeah, no, there's some concern about all of that, and I think, I've talked to a lot of my colleagues today, and we're just kind of in a holding pattern until we have more information.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be tough to just keep jumping through hoops because the stuff's just gonna keep flowing. But I know they're taking legal action. The states have taken legal action.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim.
I mean, what could happen is that this could filter down to the state level,
Absolutely.
and then that could impact us with our local aid.
Yeah, that's much more likely.
That's probably more likely, I guess, in the future, but they've committed to, I mean, they have reserves at the state and they've already committed to the 26,
Right.
you know.
It's more
So
next year
it's,
coming.
it's probably more a 27, 28 kind of thing. But at any rate, Brent, do you have any updates on the capital budget?
Well, we met on the 16th of January, mostly to talk about the municipal building stabilization fund request. I prefer to go over that when I can give you the documents and be there in person.
Yep.
Okay. I can give you the bottom line, which an appropriation from that fund of $1,533,000 will be the recommendation. One thing that I raised during that discussion, and I'm not an expert on, I hope will be discussed, is that for projects under the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund, as well as a request that goes under the normal capital budget, there was, if I recall correctly, some total of $150,000 being proposed to be removed from the assessor's overlay account. I just don't have any context or sense of financial implications of withdrawing that amount all at one time from that account. So hopefully that's something that will be discussed.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. That's basically, so you know, the purpose of that overlay is basically, it's to provide rebates, tax rebates to residents, abatements, I guess, and the senior work off is included in that. But there's they have there's a separate board of assessors that oversees that account, and they have a process in place where they look at the requirements of what that account should have in it every year, and they come up with a balance, and then they vote on what the excess is, and then once it's declared in excess, which I think just happens this week, or did they?
They just voted. I just got the letter this afternoon.
Yeah, so they voted today, I guess. So once it's declared in excess, it's available for two purposes. One, it can be appropriated through an article at town meeting, or if it's not appropriated, it goes to free cash at the end of the fiscal year. So that's how the overlay works. Okay, does that help answer your question? But there is a separate review and a separate board that oversees that whole process. We don't get involved in that. So.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll give you the breakdown at our next meeting.
Yeah, we can get that. We can get the break. The excess probably is more than the 150, as I'm guessing, but I don't know. But we'll find out. But the amount that you're getting, you're using in the capital is 150. So.
Well,
it doesn't automatic. By the way, it doesn't automatically go to capital, right? There has to be a sponsor of an article.
Right. Yeah, so $100,000 would contribute to the total amount of projects that are under the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund, and another 50,000 would go to a project that's under capital budget. It's somewhat artificially separated in some sense because they come from two different funds, but
right,
the sum total of disbursements would be 150,000. So you answer my questions.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it on the update? Well, I mean, we'll have a full discussion of the municipal building. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll put it on the agenda for next meeting in case we have time with the school department at the end. But if not, it'll have to be on the 25th, I guess, of February. Okay. All right, school building committee,
Not a lot of updates since our last warrant committee meeting.
okay,
We're meeting again next week. People are working on pulling together the first module, parts of it, which will be submitted to the MSBA. We understood that there was a strong suggestion that we should be talking to Park and Rec. So if I understand what some people from the SBC were going to talk to Park and Rec to see where we stood and what could and couldn't be done and where things stand. But that's about it for an update. There may be no action next week's meeting.
all right. Anything else? Sam? You guys have anything? No, set.
Motion adjourned.
All right, is there a second?
Second,
All right, let's take a roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye,
yes.
Yes.
and Brent.
Yes.
Okay, have a good night, Brent.
Bye.